Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking and great to have you along for another episode of the Boxing Deep Dive show. We've got a massive show this week. We've just been talking off air about a few things, some stuff we can and can't talk about on air. I'll bring on my co-host for this episode, Grant Tassie Brown and Peter Maniatis. How are we, fellas?
Good. Don't say anything, boys. A lot of secrets, a lot of whispers.
No, it's funny, Pete. We were just talking about we could almost have a show within a show, outside the show, with all the little bits of gossip that we get told every week that we call.
A bit like Seinfeld. If we were on Seinfeld, who would be the characters of Seinfeld? You'd be Seinfeld, obviously.
Yeah, well, I think you'd be Kramer.
You'd be Kramer, Peter.
Yeah, and you'd be Costanza. I can see
I'll be George.
You wouldn't be you, man.
Can't stand
You wouldn't be you, man. You'd be Costanza.
I'll just be the dull host. I would, with not much going on. But no, but isn't it amazing though, guys? I mean, we laugh about it, but the amount of little tidbits we get told and the little rumour files that are out there. If only we had the cameras sort of rolling at that time, because we've all got, every week we talk before we come on air, and there's always little bits of gossip that we've all been told from different sources. So if only your viewers out there could see some stuff that goes on, outside of filming, it would be quite the show, wouldn't it, Pete? We'd have quite a few viewers, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'd have quite a few people probably telling us off as well.
But one thing we've got plenty to go through, obviously, Taz, I'll get to you in a sec, but one thing there is happening is, we're obviously talking about the Kambosos Haney card. All we can say is there's plenty going on and plenty of exciting news coming up about the whole event. So we look forward to that. And Pete, you all got your ear to the ground. I'm sure you'll fill us in as we're able to mention it. But great to have you with a foot in the camp of what's happening there. And Tassie, mate, you just got your foot in all the camps at the moment. You've obviously got a massive show coming up next month. So how's all that panning out for you? I know you did an official announcement last week, and how's all that going?
Yeah, mate, tickets tables are going like hotcakes, and it was a good press conference to bring Luke Jackson back home, and he's 80% sure to be his last fight, but there's always that 20%, but no matter what, it'll be his last in Tassie. So it all went well, sales are going well. You boys both know, when you're matching the undercard, there's always nightmares, and you're ringing and trying to get do all that matchmaking. So that's a bit annoying, but that's just part of the game. But all going well. It's going to be a great show, and Luke Jackson, Mousy Jacobs, Bo Belbin, Matthew Trifford's back after 4 years out of retirement. Stu there, Johnny Brown, Luke Warrington. It's going to be a good, plus an great amateur card. So it's going to be good.
No, we look forward to hearing a lot of the matchups as they get announced, mate. And Pete, apart from all the undercard things with the Kambosos Haney thing, we've seen a bit of the social media during the week. Ticket sales look like they've just exploded. What's the latest from your end?
Yeah, I think they're expecting 53,000 people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's going to be a massive. Victorians, Melburnians turn up. We had 85,000 at the Anzac game between Collingwood and Essendon, and both teams aren't in the finals. Yeah. So you get a big event, you get Melbourne, and you get big crowds. It's just the way it is with Melburnians. They'll all turn up in full force, and it's just going to be a big spectacle. Kambosos fight, obviously with American TV, will be on at 1:32 p.m.
Yeah.
Going back to America, because when we see the main event fights from America, they normally start at 2 p.m., don't they?
About that, yeah.
It's the event of the year by far in Melbourne. Number one event of the year.
Yeah, and to think that we've had so many tickets sold already and the interest in it. I know the media interest will reignite as we get closer, but just the fact that, I jumped online the other day, Pete, and had a look at the ticket sales or the ticket prices and stuff, and a lot of it's unavailable. So it's just a credit to everyone involved. But I think you can't get a better salesman than George himself, can you? He's done such a great job already selling the fight.
Yeah, but I think people love that 50-50 fight. Yeah. It is a 50-50 fight. I think George will win, but the general bookmakers are classing it a 50-50 fight. So that's what we want. You can't ask for more than that. And he's a home boy going into a 50-50 fight. That just sells. That's a ticket to sell.
And I think Tassie...
100%.
Just going to say, Tassie, yeah, you're right. The general public, especially obviously the boxing public, can see through the bullshit. And I think that whether you're a real true boxing fan or a casual boxing fan or you just love an event, I think it's pretty obvious that this event is the real deal, and it's just going to be the event of, like you said, of the year.
He's got one of the top guys. He's got the other guy that's got the other version of the WBC title. So, as I said, either or, Lima or even Tank, they're on the same level. He's one of the best guys, so he's picked a great young fighter who's got a belt. So, and he said, like Peter said, 50-50, I reckon the Americans are probably thinking 60-40 Americans, but I mean, look, it's a great sell. It's just great all round. As I said, I give him credit. I was a bit skeptical about numbers early because I just don't like just throwing numbers around. I just be a realist. But mate, I give George, his team, his dad, even Peter, anyone that's involved, and obviously the top rank and the Duco. It's happening, mate, and it's looked like it's going to be awesome. So hats off to bringing big boxing back to Australia, mate. It's unbelievable, mate. It's really, it's just nothing but positives.
And the thing is too, Pete, I mean, we're talking about it being one of the the biggest event of the year in events of the year in Melbourne / Australia, but even on the world scene, there's not going to be many boxing events around the world. They're going to get 50,000 plus to a fight this year.
And Haney's a big name in America. He's an up-and-comer. So he's going to have all the eyeballs from America on this event. And it's going to just, I mean, you summed it up. When the press conference started and you saw Eddie Maguire, you knew it went to another level.
Yeah.
So they do things properly, the Cambosis team. And I just think they're bringing things to another level again. And that's where boxing should be. And we've waited for this. And there's been so many great shows by No Limit and Duco and Dean Lonergan, and they're good prop-up shows, but this show's a pure, I mean, you're going to get Mauricio Suleiman come out, you're going to get Aram out, you're going to start, if you're into that boxing thing, Lyndon, we should have a show from the, from the hotel area where they're all at, and you'll get that many people. I remember I went live stream at the Pacquiao one, and you just get people bob up like Teddy Atlas and that. You just get on there and interview. I mean, it's just that carnival that we've sort of been, as boxing fans, we cry out for. That's our sort of domain. You don't want to go to bed. You don't want to leave the area. You want to stay there 24/7.
Which was what
and that's what
with the Pacquiao Horn fight was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's we're going to get that again. We're going to get that again.
Probably even on a bigger level. I mean, it's hard to think we'd get bigger than that fight, but either way. Just excuse me, what an amazing event that it'll be. Just on the not a lot happening in far as apart from this, of course, in the Aussie scene at the moment. We'll jump straight into our news for this week. It's Sky Nicholson is about to become the first female Aussie fighter to fight at Madison Square Garden. Tassia wasn't aware of that, but third fight for the year. She's she's doing great things already with our man Eddie Hearn.
Mate, America, England, back to America, Madison Square Garden. What a dream for this girl. Olympian, Commonwealth Games gold medalist. Mate, the world's her oyster, mate. I mean, she's with Eddie Hearn and these opportunities. What can you say, mate? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, she's taking it with both hands and good luck to her, mate. It's amazing.
No, you're right. And Pete, we're in a bit of a golden age for the girls at the moment, aren't we? It's all happening. I mean, we'll discuss it in a second with the main event on that card, but to think that we've obviously had Shannon O'Connell around for a while, but now we've had Ebony Bridges, Shanika Johnson, and now Sky Nicholson, and a few other young girls out there on the horizon as well. I mean, we're talking about the golden age for the male Aussie boxers, but similar for the females.
And Mousy Jacobs won a WIBA world title last year, which is the first ever official women's world title before the WBC and IBF starting, thinking there's money in it.
There you go. So it's all happening, Pete.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. It's good to see too. And look, the females in all sports, they're earning their keep. Whether it's golf, tennis, football, now boxing, they're all coming in now and they're adapting and they're believing in themselves. And it's good for society that females are actually treated as equals in a sporting field. Because in the old days, it was all Mayo, man, sort of macho type of thing, and females didn't get much of a
Well,
look in.
they weren't allowed to vote years ago, Peter.
Yeah, I remember in
They
2009,
weren't allowed to vote.
I promoted a female WBC world title, Wang Yan Nan, at Malvern Town Hall, and she fought a Kenyan girl, Charity Makuri, and I mean, no one was interested. This is a WBC female world title. I remember I had a show 2 weeks before that, Shannon McMahon fought Eddie Dalek, and we got 1,000 people, and I thought, well, they'll all come to the world title, and we had 600 people for the female world title. So, back then it was hard slog for women, and I died Prazak starting out. But now people are starting to getting used to it, and they'll come and watch and pay for females to fight. And I think it's just the same with tennis and stuff like that. People want to see the good female tennis players now. They don't just want to see the males.
Well, I've got Tassie in a sec. We'll get back to that, but I've got a little point about the girls in the talking points a little bit later on that I'm really keen to get your opinion on as well. But Tassie, you think also you said you promoted Mousy Jacobs last year in her title fight, and but it was a case of years ago. The girl, you're right, Pete. They weren't really taken seriously. But do you think now that the amateur program's so good these days, they're really coming through with a nice grounding and they're coming in prepared, where years ago they didn't have really amateur careers and they were just sort of thrown into the pros, or they'd come from kickboxing or whatever. But we're really starting to see a real high level of talent come through now, Taz.
100%, mate. There's a lot of talent. Yeah. Beck Hawker, who's a gun.
Yeah, Beck Hawker, yep.
I mean, and they all fight each other too. They're not like the guys worrying about their records. The girls fight each other. I mean, Mousy Jacobs fought Lorinda Webb, and then she wanted Beck Hawker, and even though it didn't go her way, I could have given her an easier fight. Then she wanted Carly Salmon. So, I mean, they just fight each other, mate. They're not really worried about records. They just want to fight. As we all know, we've all managed fighters, Peter, Lyndon, myself. Some guys are worried about their records. The girls just want to fight, mate. So it's been a really good story of women's boxing lately, and I'm a big supporter of it. As I was saying, women couldn't vote back in the day. In Saudi Arabia, they still can't drive a car and they can have a driver's license. So it's good that Australia, which is a good country, unlike the countries that like that you can have a freedom of speech, and the old Aussie way still happens a little bit.
Yeah, and you throw, you said Beck Hawker there, great example, and also Taylor Robinson as well. And then last week we had obviously Carly Salmon as well. So, and
let's not forget, as you said, Shannon O'Connell, who's led the way for many years, and she's the GOAT still, and until someone beats her.
I think Diane Prazak's having a comeback fight too at 42 years of age in Los Angeles in June. And, for the viewers out there that don't know who Diana is, she stopped Shannon O'Connell in 5 or 6 rounds. Diana's the real deal, and she was based.
Yeah, Mick was telling me about Diana. I didn't really know her, but Mick, I think she was training with Mick for a while, wasn't she, Peter?
I promoted her first pro fight, and she fought a female that was a prison officer. It was a real tough, rugged fight.
Well, I've seen prison officers get bashed. I love that.
And then also, Pete, along the way, we've had obviously Susie Ramadan, who was another pioneer of the whole women's boxing scene. And then Sharon Anyos was another one.
Anyos, the real deal or whatever.
Wild Thing, what was her name was?
The Wild Thing, yeah. And her dad's a trainer as well. They're real good people.
Yeah, quick story actually.
Sharon's a good person.
Yeah, her dad used to look like a wolf. He used to have the big beard and the long grey hair, and a really good guy, could really handle himself. But I remember sparring with Sharon Anyos back in the day up in Queensland, and they called her. No, they didn't call her Wild Thing for nothing, because she got in there and she'd try and take your head off no matter who you are. So great things for Aussie boxing in the girls scene at the moment, and hopefully a lot of them will go on to bigger and better things. Pete, I'm interested to get your thoughts on the next one. Last week, Tassie and I, actually, was it last week or the week before when you were here? We did the top 10. Now, I won't spend too much time on it because it hasn't changed. We've got, you can see there, actually, you might have been here last week, weren't you, when we did this? So, Paro 6, Zarafa, O'Connell, Dempsey, McKean, and Paul Fleming. Now, the reason I brought it up this week is that a couple of days later, our friends over at Oz Boxing did a similar list. Now, I just want to get your view on it, guys. So you can see there the top 5 are the same. Now, I've got no problem with Zarafa at number 6. You could probably throw a blanket over. The one I wanted to get your opinion on is they've got Liam Wilson and Brock Jarvis. I'll go to you first, Tassie, above Liam Parrow. So my first opinion is Liam Wilson and Brock Jarvis, both great young talents. The world is the royster. They're going to be, who knows, fighting for world titles down the track. But you see them at the moment that both of them should have been above Liam Parrow, who was about to fight for a world title later this year.
Yeah, nah. I got that mixed up. I mean, Liam's a great fighter, and I'm a big fan of Brock, obviously, with my old coach, Jeff Fennick. But at the moment, Parrow's had, won an eliminator, and he deserves to be there. So, nah.
Yeah. What do you think, Pete? I just look, no, not having a go at Oz boxing. We've all got our different opinions, and I think I said last week you could probably throw a blanket over quite a few for the remaining spots. I still think Shannon O'Connell should be in there, but that's another story. But what do you think, Pete? Do you think, as good as Liam Wilson and Brock Jarvis have been and what they're shown they may be, do you think they deserve to be above Liam Parrow, who, as I said, is number one ranked by the WBO and will fight for the title later this year?
Yeah, I mean, Parrow could possibly be at 6.
Yeah, well, I had him at 6, I think. Let's go back a sec. I think I had him at 6. Zarafa at 7, so either way. But, and obviously...
So they're doing swaps. It doesn't... I think once you get the top 10 in there, that's... I mean, whether you're 6 or 9, it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as you're in there.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, our top 5 are the top 5 is exactly the same, I think. So I suppose that's probably the ones that are clear cut. But yeah, look, I think it's great debate anyway. It's interesting to read the social media comments on on Oz Boxing or Australian Boxing Central or whoever it might be with the comments, because everyone's an expert, and if you're not the same as them, you don't know shit about boxing, Tassie, as they say.
100%, Lyndon. 100%.
I think we just got to respect each other's or everyone else's opinions a little bit more, I think. But as I said, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I just wanted your opinion on it for yourself. So that's that one. Let's get on to some world news, guys, while we're going. And I wanted to get into our man, the Gypsy King. I'll just get my camera right there. I've gone a little bit blurry there. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. And Tassie, 6 rounds, retained the WBC heavyweight title. Just the complete performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I keep I love Fury as a person, as a fighter, and everything he brings to boxing. But like the last couple of fights, even the last Wilder fight, I keep thinking, is he underestimating his opponent? I keep waiting for him to slip up. I keep thinking, he's so famous, he's so big, is he going to underestimate someone? Is he going to underestimate Wilder in the third fight? He obviously didn't. Is he going to underestimate White? And I thought he might have got knocked down or something in this fight, and I still tipped him the winner, but he done it really easy. I mean, he's just so good. He's so good, and you got to put him anywhere with the top evers because he's so big. He can move. He can box. He's starting to punch hard too now. He's got a chin. We know he gets up. He's got heart. He's a big man, and he would have given anyone troubles, mate. How good is Fury? He's amazing.
Yeah, he is. What did you make of it, Pete? I was really disappointed in Dillian Whyte's performance. I thought he was, he didn't necessarily come to win, which is, I know it's a harsh thing to say, but didn't at any stage really try and take the fight on. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts were, I thought he was beaten before the fight started. Why would you start southpaw in the first round?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's the thing I'm asking. Why would you do that when you're not a southpaw and automatically give up your A game? My A game is I'm orthodox. That's why I come to do. I land big right hand. So why would you start southpaw? And then when he went to his normal stance the next round, Tyson Fury plays a mind game on him and switches to southpaw. Yeah. So when that happened, look, Tyson Fury judges distance better than any heavyweight I've seen in a long, long time. He's not brilliant. He hasn't got hand speed. His hand speed's pretty good, but he hasn't got the hand speed of a Mike Tyson. He hasn't got the one-punch power. He hasn't got the body of a fighter, but he's 6'9". He
just knows how to win.
But this guy just knows how to win. He controls distance. He puts his punches together. He boxes neatly. He's got a pretty sound defense. He's very tough. He fights 12 hard rounds. He's a complete package. He's extremely hard to beat, and he's a very intelligent fighter.
Yeah, no, he is. Tassie, what did you think about Dillian Whyte's claims afterwards that that was an illegal push that put him down? I'm sure we'll show it here in a second. But if people out there aren't familiar, you can see here, he gets hit with a right uppercut and Fury gives him a little shove. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean there was
There it
there
is
was
there.
a shove, but not the punch done the job. I mean, you know, I don't really think anything of it. I just think it's just he got beat, he got stopped, and stop. Just take it like a man, be humble.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, wasn't it, Pete? Because look, technically there was a little bit of a shove there, but if you think about it, rather than give him a little shove, you could have hit him with another right hand or a left hook, and it could have made it a lot worse.
I remember when Rocky Marciano dropped Jersey Joe Walcott and he gave him a little clip when he was on his knee as he was walking past. He could have went down and the referee could have made a big meal of that. Look, it's boxing. It's not ping pong. It's not, netball. He hit him with a massive uppercut. That little push was irrelevant because when he got up, you could tell that he was badly concussed.
Yeah.
And he wasn't concussed by the push. He was concussed by the punch. So that was irrelevant. It's his. It doesn't matter. It's boxing because he hit him first and then he gave him. It wasn't like it was a legitimate push. It was just that he was that close that he kind of just got him away from him, and it was like a glancing push. And it had nothing to do with the outcome of the result of his concussion and him staggering around. It was a peach of an uppercut, and that's how smart he is. He lured him into it, and he was open for it. He threw it once or twice, I think in round 3 or 4, and it just missed, and you knew that was going to be the punch that he was going to aim for, obviously with a shorter guy, and he landed it. It was the end of the fight. I mean, if Dillian Whyte wants to talk about that, I think that's just poor. That's stupidity. You don't sound like. But obviously, all these fighters, because they got Jordan power, you need to make an excuse because then you can sell your next fight. He'll go and say, "I got pushed, I got that," and then whoever he fights his net, whether it's Joseph Parker, whoever, I don't know. I'm just saying he's got that as his bargaining tool. I think that's what they use as a damage control from a loss, rather than what really happened. Because if you really saw him at a pub or something, they'd say, "No, mate, I got hit by a big shot. He was too good." Yeah. But as far as the crowd and people buying his next fight, it's always good to have an excuse.
Yeah, it's all about the street cred, isn't it? Tassie, what did you think more importantly about after the fight, Tyson Fury saying that is it?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, mate. I would like to see him go, but then again, he's got nothing to prove. I don't think waiting around for Usyk and Joshua is a big thing. I don't really blame him for that. He doesn't have to. He's got nothing to prove. I don't know, man. I would like to see him go, but again, if he's happy in retirement, then I'm happy for him.
Yeah, Peter, it's funny one, isn't it? Because normally someone in his position, you would probably say, look, of course he's going to come back. He's going to fight the winner. But Fury's that type of guy, isn't he? That it wouldn't surprise us at all if this was it.
Yeah, but he also brought in an MMA guy, and they're going to have a fight.
Yeah.
So that was interesting that's going to happen.
That was
with the
interesting,
new rules. So he's basically saying, I'm going to have a break from boxing, but I'll still make money because you'll make a truckload of money fighting that guy. And in the meantime, he'll probably get another fight with Joshua or Usyk. And I think after that, he'll call it quits. I mean, he's made that much money, but there's that much waiting for him that it's hard. I mean, he would have made 40 million on the weekend. How can his next fight he'll probably make the same? How can you shut the door on that type of money when he's got kids, he's got a family, he's got people around him? What's he going to do? What, go to the pub, not do anything, and he's in his early 30s, or take a job with BBC and get 200 grand a year? There's 30 million waiting there. He does what he does best. His job isn't over. He's probably going to fight for another 4 or 5 years. There's no way in the world he'll retire. I remember talking to Coda Nasser, like when Mundine was 28, and he said Mundine will fight till he's 40. And I go, no way. Well, Mundine fought till he was 46. Fighters fight. And in today's market, they will. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Fury's fighting until he's 40. It would not surprise me one little bit. Saying you're going to retire, just people start appreciating you more. And don't retire, we want you. And no, I'm going to MMA. They know to play the market and they know to play the fans. So he's good at what he does. There's no way in the world he will retire. There's
that's good points. And you're right. I did seem or think it was odd that he did mention the MMA guy after the fight. He did say he doesn't care about fighting Joshua or Usyk because it's not about the money, but then he brought up fighting the MMA guy, which is all about money. So
All about the money.
So
He's just doing a Mayweather. That's all.
Just stringing us along, you
No,
reckon,
look,
Tassie?
these guys, when they get to that level, Tassie, they get like I'm sure Top Rank have got their marketing people and PBC got their marketing people and Golden Boy, and they tell them what to say and what to do because then they market it that way. So he'd be told what to do. The guy from MTK was a big follower of his, and then all of a sudden no one knows who he is, and we don't know about Dubai, and we don't know about this. But 2 years ago, you're thanking him in centre ring as your best buddy,
Wearing the hat,
and now the marketing people are saying, mate, you got to back. Oh no, I don't really know him. I think he might have sent me a T-shirt or something. Everyone does what they do, but I'll give Tyson Fury that. He's a real person and he does it his way. So that's why we're kind of thinking, is he going to do that? But there's no way he's going to be turning his money, his back on all that money. Impossible.
Two things, isn't it, Tassie? One, it's covering your own ass, but on the other hand, keeping everyone on the hook just in case you want to make money off them later, isn't it? So
100%, Lyndon, 100%.
Tassie, while I got you there, we'll get on to a fight for this weekend. It's one I'm really looking forward to. It is Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson. It's Sunday. It'll be our time. What an awesome fight this will be.
Yeah, this is one that I've got a lot of interest in, mate. I love the smaller guys, and Oscar Valdez, two-division world champion. He beat the lineal champion. Shakur Stevenson's my pick to take over the next division lightweight. I don't care about Tank Davis, Devin Haney, or anyone, even George down the track. This guy here is the next Floyd Mayweather. I believe he beats Valdez easy, and I think he goes up the lightweight and he shows everyone very soon he'll be the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Once another couple of years when Canelo's getting this is my pick. You heard it right now. Terence Crawford, Andre Wardle, then guys. This guy's like that. He's from that cloth. He'll beat Valdez impressively. Then he'll go to lightweight, and anyone can get it. He's the one. This one here.
Geez, Pete, if he goes to lightweight, it makes it interesting, doesn't it, with all the talent that's currently in that division?
Stacked up, isn't it? I'm a massive fan for Stevenson as well. He's got everything. So, and he's starting to develop that man strength as well. So he's got everything you want in a fighter. So it's going to be exciting times. I mean, he's with Top Rank as well. They build up their fighters properly, and there's Brad Jacobs right there. And he's with the right people. He can go as far as he wants to go. Simple as that. Obviously, Tassie, we don't know what they do outside of life, but I know he's not the type of guy that would start going to after parties and burners and all that and losing track of what they do.
I think he had a child recently to his partner, and I think from what I hear, he's a good kid. Valdez is no slouch, don't get me wrong. Valdez is a great fighter, but I think styles make fights. I think the sharp, skilled, counter-punching Stevenson I think Valdez is going to be a little bit behind the eight ball, I think.
And I think it's on DAZN from memory on Sunday. I think, Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's... So check that one out. It's actually a big day on DAZN because I'll get on to our next fight.
Top rank are with ESPN, so...
Yeah, which was strange, wasn't it? So if it's not, it'll probably be on Fox, I'm assuming.
Yeah, one of the two, because Top Rank's with ESPN and Eddie Hearn, obviously, and De La Hoya with DAZN and Golden Boy Promotions with DAZN as well, and PBC with Flipline.
Yeah, I did think
but these are both top-ranked fighters, both of the boys.
Yeah, but it's...
No, I know, but we're talking about the platform. Top Rank normally go with ESPN.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So I don't know why it would be on the zone. It's a different promotional
on at the moment. And there's no mention of it on DAZN at the moment, so maybe it's not.
I don't think so.
So check
there's no. What's it got on the post? I'm trying to have a look.
I haven't got. It has a lot of the promotional merchandise has had DAZN, but there's no mention of it. But one fight that is on DAZN on Sunday, it is the Battle of the Girls. Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano. Now, Tassie, I wouldn't normally make a big deal of the women's fight. Obviously, we talked before about how big it's getting, but geez, how can you not miss this one? It's it is, well, definitely is the biggest women's fight of all time. It's going to be pretty good viewing.
Yeah, it's huge, mate. Katie Taylor, Olympic champion from Ireland, and I think she's, I don't know how many belts she's won as a pro, but she's got a few. And this other one, yeah, well, there you go, mate. And this other one's a beast, and unbelievable, mate. Eddie Hearn's done it again, and so Jake Paul, I mean, does he promote the other girl? Does he?
Yeah, he promotes Amanda Serrano. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, mate. It's just a huge fight. Madison Square Garden, all the Irish fans will be there, and Al Sky Nicholson's on the undercard. Yeah, it's massive. Massive.
Pete, it is a massive, I suppose, milestone in boxing, especially women's boxing, that you've got, two females headlining a major card at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it is. But are they going there full Madison Square Garden? It's a Madison Square Gardens theatre, which fits about
you're right.
3,000 or 4,000. Are they going to theatre or are they going to full hog? I don't think they're going to full hog because Boston Celtic play there. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they play their home games there, and
they played there last week. I think they got the Brooklyn Nets. I think, and the Nets.
No, not the Boston Celtics. The Knicks play.
Yeah, Boston Celtics now got the Bucks. Yeah. No, they're playing the Bucks now because the Bucks just cleaned up
Chicago.
Chicago 4-1,
and the Celtics got the Nets, so they're up against.
No, they beat the Nets. I think so.
They beat the Nets. Celtics play Milwaukee now, and their home games are in Boston.
I should know that since I'm not a Celtics nut, but anyway. But look, either way, I'm with you, Pete. I would assume it'd be in the smaller arena, but just the fact that it's it's the main event, massive card. You can see the fights on the undercard there. The Vargas Smith fight should be pretty entertaining, by the way, and obviously we've got Sky Nicholson there. But the fact that we've progressed to the point where these two girls are headlining such a major card, it's just a shame that it's up against Valdez and Stevenson, though, isn't it?
It is. But look, it is what it is. I'm sure they're going to attract a pretty big crowd, and it's on Dan's end, so the other card will be on Fox. Dan's end are covering that card. Yeah. So at least that answered our question. Yep.
All good. And Tassie, you're on to the heavyweights. Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce to meet July 2nd at Wembley Stadium. This should be a really interesting fight, and the winner to maybe fight. I don't think they'll fight Fury, of course, but in line to fight maybe Joshua or Usyk.
Yeah, mate, good fight. Parker pretty much trains with, alongside Fury and under Fury's cousin. I tip Joyce with this one. I think Joel's had a few shots lately. I think Joel doesn't win the big ones. I really don't. So I think Joel Joyce wins this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, Pete? Because we've seen a lot of Joseph Parker down here on the Duco events, and I must say I agree with Tassie. I was disappointed when he did step up in those fights in England, but this is maybe a chance for redemption. But it's a pretty tall task in Joe Joyce, isn't it?
It is, but this where Joseph Parker needs to shine because there's one more big payday for him, and he's young for a heavyweight, and he has got talent, but sometimes he just puts in lackluster performances. Yeah. I don't know what it is. So this time I hope he's switched on. And I hope he brings his best foot forward because if he does, he can beat Joe Joyce.
No, for sure. I agree. So that's the reports coming out. It's July 2nd at Wembley Stadium. Obviously, that means an 80,000 plus crowd, I would think. But yeah, again, just another massive fight for the heavyweight division, which is always a good thing. So we'll look forward to that one. Just before we move out of the world news, guys, I want your thoughts on this one. We haven't actually done this before. Tassie, we've got the world pound for pound rankings. Now, I've just put this together, and I want your thoughts on it, you guys. So I've got Canelo Alvarez at 1, Terence Crawford 2, Inoue 3, Tyson Fury 4, Usyk 5, Errol Spence 6, Chocolatito Gonzalez number 7, 8, Gennady Golovkin. 9, 1, Francisco Estrada. And our guy, George Kambosos, at number 10. First thoughts?
Pretty good list, Lyndon.
That's tough.
But the first two are no-brainers.
Yeah.
Inui, I probably might have had Usyk there, but either or, it's no big argument. Fury just keeps winning. Spence again won another belt. Chocolito, Gennady won another belt. He's been, he wasn't active, but he just beat another champion. He still only had the one blemish on his record. That was Canelo. Estrada and George, mate. Yeah, I agree with it. Obviously, I don't blame you not put Luke Campbell. What's his name?
Josh Taylor.
I don't blame you not putting him in after that last performance, mate. I think, it's really, really good list. No, I've got no problem with it, Lyndon.
Pete, I was a little bit torn. I did look at different, configurations at different stages, but I thought there was a couple there. Tassie just touched on it with Josh Taylor. He would have probably been in there in front of George if he hadn't had that last performance, which I thought he was really, really lucky. I think we all thought he was lucky to get. And the other one was Lomachenko, but I could not in a put him in front of George after George beat the man who beat the man. So.
No. Look, I'm glad you put in Estrada. There's a strong case that Nonito Donaire could be in there as well.
Yep.
He's dominated the bantamweights and he's done it for a long time. And he's got the unification with Inui. If he beats Inui, where does Donaire come in? I mean, that's probably one that they're fighting in June, so we'll know more about that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a pretty solid list, and I'm just wrapped that you put in the lighter guys. Roman Gonzalez, I'm wrapped you put him in.
Yeah.
I'm wrapped Kambosos is in there as well because he thoroughly deserves to be there. It's pretty hard to argue with that list because it's every person in there merits to be there and have done something recently to be there.
Yeah.
Donaire might say I'm a little stiff after cleaning up a couple of the fighters on the way through, and he's a current WBC world champion, but it is what it is. I mean, he could possibly replace Estrada, possibly, but that would be a big 50-50 call as well.
Yeah, and Estrada obviously beat Gonzalez, I think it was last year or worst case the year before, so you could make a case, but in my opinion, I actually thought Gonzalez might have got the decision in that, but either way, I think to have them both in there, and I think the thing is, after about number 6, you could probably have 10 fighters in the other 4 positions.
You could.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd throw that in.
The biggest fight in boxing at the moment will be Crawford and Spence, and they both deserve to be there. And Canelo, look, mate, there's nothing wrong with that list, Leonard.
Yeah. Well,
the first 6 spot on, and
we'll revisit it every month or so and just see where we're at. But I just sort of put it together, and I thought that's sort of an indication. As I said, the bottom 4 you could probably juggle around and make a case for a couple others, but we'll touch on it there. But I think there's no disputing probably the top 2. I don't think Canelo and Crawford. You could even alternate them if you wanted to, but. So there you go. So that's it. Guys, let's get into the talking points for the week. I've got 3 things I'd like to talk to you about before we get into everyone's favourite segment, which is, of course, the quiz. Hopefully that'll go off without incident tonight, and Pete can make it.
Never does though, Lyndon. Sorry? There's always controversy.
I know.
I got, instead of Kevin McBride, I said Kelly McBride, who was an old New Zealand fighter I used to match.
Yeah.
And Kwon Kill You's actually, I'll kill you. Yeah, I could have just said I kill you, but
you
not
said you
Kwon.
killed one or something. But hey, well, look, you've got another.
I wouldn't call it controversy, mate. I just call it bad on you, mate.
I've got a touch of Joe Biden. I'm going to be taking some memory medication. Don't worry, Tassie. I'm taking this seriously.
I think you're a mix between Joe Biden and Ronald Reagan. To be honest with you.
Well, look, we've got plenty of time to get into that in a second there, guys, but let's get on to the talking points.
You're a bit like Joe Bjelke-Peterson, Peter.
All right, fellas. All right, let's get into the talking points. We've got plenty of time to go on about the quiz. But the first one I want to get to, and it actually relates to you, Pete. You got to mention last week. We're going to play the video in a second here. Hardman earns respect for the rematch decision now. Last week we debated, however you want to talk about, whether he should take the rematch or not. Now, you've touched a nerve. This is what he had. Just a little snippet of what he had to say.
Peter Maniard has said on the deep dive, let's see what Hardman's about. Does he want the rematch right away? Of course I do, but it sounds stupid. I'm not shying away from anything. Fuck, don't get me wrong. I want a rematch, but I'm going to earn it the right fucking way. Not just put my hand up and say, there's one in the contract.
So, Pete, first of all, it's great to see that Isaac actually watches the show, but he obviously didn't have a shot at you, but he quoted you. I think what you said was quite relevant to the situation, but I didn't play the whole thing because it went for about 3 minutes. I just put the tail on there. But what he's pretty much saying is that I don't want to just be handed the rematch no matter what it says in the contract. I want to earn it. I want to come back. And he says, it's not like I lost a close fight. I was wiped out in 2 rounds. So I want to earn my shot back.
Well, what I meant was, when you've got that rematch clause, it's like you're playing poker and he's won a big hand. Do you want to come straight the next hand and try and get that hand back? Or do you want to play a few smaller hands and then go back and get the pot? And Jeff Horn was in the same position with Zarafa. He lost the first fight and he came to Melbourne or Bendigo and he lost it. But he didn't want to take any other fight but Zarafa in the rematch because he wanted the ranking back and he wanted that big pot back. Now, if Hardman is watching, the risk is here. You take a few other fights and a year goes by, you might not get Zarafa again. That's what I'm trying to say. Now you've got him on a contract clause. You know you're going to get him because it's in the contract. But once you take other fights, he might not never want to fight you again. So what happens then? He's got the 1-0 up. So it's no different to any type of situation when Ali and Spinks fought. Spinks beat Ali, but he wanted him straight away because if you don't get him straight away and then that contract goes away, you might never get to fight him. And then as a fighter, it's your own thing. Do you say, look, I'm going to take the rematch clause. I'm going to go in heavy. If I get beat again, I get beat again. I don't care, but I just want that one shot. And when you look at the fight, and if Hardman is watching, mate, that first round, you landed a nice shot that kind of had Zarafa thinking about your power. But the second round, you came out like it was a 4-round fight. It was a 12-round fight. You can't do that against a seasoned guy like Zarafa. And that's where the problem started. But it wasn't the fact that he was outclassed. He got hit by a check hook coming in, and it just changed the fight. He went down and didn't recover. That's what happened. But he was lunging and he was real desperate the second round, and he didn't need to be in a 12-round fight.
Tassie, do you think, and I 100% agree with what you're saying there, Pete, Tassie, do you think, though, it's the balance of what Pete said then, and a contract's a contract? Just on that, I think a little bit different, the Horn fight, because obviously that was a big upset. It was a 9-round fight. It was a war, and he lost, and he had the option. This is a bit different. He got wiped out in 2 rounds, but that's another thing. But
it wasn't really a war. Zarafa beat Horn fairly comfortably.
Well, but it went 9 rounds, and there's lots of different factors where
Horn. Sometimes going 9 rounds makes it worse. Getting blown out early, you didn't have time to settle. You were cold. There's a lot more excuses rather than getting a beat down because the Horn and Zarafa first one was a beat down for 9 rounds. It wasn't.
Well, listen, if he's watching, I like Isaac, been a fan from day one, and he's a good guy. I'd take the rematch clause straight away if I was him, and I'd try and abolish that loss if I was him. I wouldn't think anything else but rematch. I wouldn't even fight again, but get a rematch. I just wouldn't think.
That's a good confidence.
Look, what's that?
That's if he's got, because he's saying he feels he doesn't earn the right to go into a rematch. He thinks he's got to go now and prove himself.
Not about any rights. You should just want to do it. Like, listen, this wasn't a pro stage. I had an amateur fight, but I got upset by another Tasmanian, and I wouldn't fight. Tommy trainer. He said, "I'll get you someone from Sydney." I said, "I want him in a rematch." 3 weeks later, and I bashed him, and I didn't eat. I didn't sleep for 3 weeks until I beat this guy. That was just the competitiveness in me. I just wanted to eat this guy's heart, and and that's the way you got to be. And I hope Isaac does employ the rematch for him. You know what I mean? Not for Zarafa. Zarafa's won, and Zarafa can go into bigger things. But if Harmon has got the opportunity, I think he should take it.
Yeah. What I was getting at, guys, just to go back over the Horn thing, what I meant by, you're right, it was a one-sided fight by Zerafa, but I think in Horn's situation, it was more so that in his mind, he took the fight probably not as seriously what he thought he could have. He was upset. He's obviously in a position for the rematch, so thought he took the fight on again, whereas Hardman, I think, has got the whole impression, well, it's not like I went 9 rounds, I was completely done in under 2 rounds. And the balance, that's what I was going to ask you before, Tazzy, is it the balance between invoking what you're right as far as the contract goes, or the Warriors way, we'll call it, where he says, no, that's not what I'm made of, I don't want to do it that way, I want to earn it back rather than be handed to it. I know it's easy to say, just take the rematch, it's in the contract, take it, or is his way of thinking is that no, I want to earn the rematch and don't want any favours.
It's not about earning. That's just what other people think. Like, oh, did he earn it? As a fighter, from him, I'd want to prove that I'm better than him. I want to bash his head in.
Yeah.
He wanted the. I'd want to get revenge and bash his head in if that was me against anyone. So,
Pete, do you think?
And I know he's a fighter. Sorry. He's a true fighting spirit.
Yep.
So I'm sure he will do it because he's a natural fighter, mate.
Yeah. Pete, do you also think that maybe he's thinking, especially after what happened, I don't want to invoke the rematch because I think I need a bit more time to maybe bring myself up to the level? Is that maybe entering his thoughts as well?
It happened too quick to get a guide. And if Hardman's watching, I know he gets up to 80, 81 kilo. You can do that against slower guys, but against a quick guy, he looked a bit waterlogged to me. He looked a bit sluggish, and then he got desperate when he shouldn't have got desperate. When you're fighting a guy like Zerafa, come in a bit lighter and a bit quicker and back yourself to be able to mow him down as the fight goes on. Because I know I've been told Hardman's got like a massive motor, and he won't back yourself to do that and back that you're tougher and better for longer. And if you can do the rematch, don't do it in Melbourne. You've got to get him back on your turf. You fought once in Melbourne, get him back in Brisbane. So it's under your conditions, on your home ground, you'll feel a lot better and improve. You'll know where you went wrong. That's why you do these fights, to know where you'll know, deep down, he'll know where he went wrong. And I felt he just got desperate too early and he came out in the second round because you kind of felt it that Zerafa won the first round. Because Hardman was thinking, Zerafa's a slow starter. I've bluffed him a lot. He might cat it. I'm going to come out. The first round's going to go to a script. I'll probably rock him a bit and it'll be smooth sailing. And he came out and it didn't happen that way. So in his corner, he's probably thought, hang on, he's probably won the first round. I've got to step it on now. Stepping it on, lunges a bit, check left hook, goes down, fight over. Let's go back to the drawing board. If you're not ready to do it, don't do it. But my advice is if you don't get him now, you'll probably never get him. Because once that rematch course goes, I can't see Zerafa doing it again. That's my personal view.
No, it's really good points, mate. And actually,
I agree.
Tazzy, on that, Pete made a really good point there as far as the weight goes, because I think Hardman really banked on, and he did say a lot about it in his social media post. Yeah, I'm going to bulk up, I'm going to be big and strong, and maybe he was going to bulk himself up to rely on the power. But do you think Pete's right there, or maybe he should have come in at maybe 76, 77 kilos, whatever it might be, and tried to compete a little bit more in the speed factor with Zerafa rather than try and have the strength and power on him?
Well, very possibly. I mean, look, it's okay to have power over someone, but if you don't have speed, you're not going to land that power. So Zerafa is known to be very, quite quick and quite elusive, and he's got good boxing skills. He does everything quite well. So, but look, at the end of the day, mate, it was that he got countered with a hook as he was throwing. That happens. He got hurt, and it was a quick finish. I mean, it can happen to anyone. I mean, if he gets his time again, it could be a totally different fight. I mean, but I agree with Peter. He should jump on it because it might never happen again.
I think too, guys, before we move on, I think the underlying thing, it's like when our footy team loses every week, we analyse it to death and work out what went wrong and how did we lose. I think this might be a classic case, guys. If shit happens, you got caught with a left hook, that happens sometimes, and we can go on about the speed or the strength or the power or slow starter versus fast. At the end of the day, you got caught with a beautiful left hook and and that's it. But yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I'm just interested to hear what you think about whether. I know you're both adamant he should take the rematch, but there's a bit of a.
I'm not adamant. I'm just saying that if he doesn't, he might not get Zerafa after this deal's over.
I don't think he will. If he doesn't take
if you really think that you can beat him, because I mean he's a flea bag or whatever he thinks in his mind, that's fair enough. But this flea bag has got a bit of aggression. He's got confidence now, and I know Hardman deep down is going to respect him more, and he's going to fear him a bit more. And that fear's the thing that could drive him to the victory. Because at the start, I bet he would have thought going into that fight, he was way overconfident. He was odds on with the bookmakers. He bulked up thinking, I'm going to knock him out. And you could just tell he was a touch sluggish and a bit slower than Zerafa. Zerafa was a touch sharper and a touch crispier. And obviously that sort of, sluggish start to that first round, he came out too quick and too overzealous in the second round, gets caught by a check left hook and fight over. Nothing against Hardman. I mean, he could have won early on and knocked out Zerafa. What would we saying? Well, this guy will be next world champion. That's the way us critics who sit back in these padded seats, that's how we are, Lyndon. Isn't it fantastic?
Yeah.
Don't get punched in the nose. We don't feel any pain. We just...
Yeah, but no, it's good. It's a great talking point because there's definitely arguments from all different directions, I think. So let's get on to the next talking point. Now, I'll explain what I mean by this one. I've got here equal conditions for men and women in title fights. Now, I'm not getting in here, advocating for equal pay and all that sort of stuff. What I'm getting at, Tassie, I'll ask you, this fight, the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fight, is scheduled for 10 2-minute rounds. The question, and it was actually put to me by a viewer of ours, James Gorman, so shout out to James for watching. He asked, should there have been provisions for maybe 12 by 3-minute round fight like the men do?
Yeah, why not?
Well,
why not?
It's an interesting one.
Why not make it all
sorry to cut you off there,
Why not make it all the same?
Yeah.
What's that?
I was sorry to cut you
off.
Why
not make it all the same?
Yeah, well, because he asked me the question, and I thought, well, that's a really good question, because when you think about it, it happens in tennis, it happens in AFLW, and obviously boxing, and a few other sports where they compete at lesser amount of time or duration, wherever it might be. But Pete, there hasn't been any real scientific explanation about why they can't compete for the same duration as men.
Yeah, there hasn't. And with marathons and things like that, it gets proven that women are just as fit as men and just as tough. But, it's just been said, I guess, that in 2-minute rounds, and they fight 2-minute rounds, and no one's challenged it. And, I mean, the medical staff would tick that off that it's less risky than men. I mean, women are...
Because as I said, when he asked me the question, I said, yeah, that's a really good point. It's never actually been explained why they don't actually compete at the same. You're right, when they run and everything else, it's always the same and as the men. But, yeah, unless there was doubts that the girls can actually go for that amount of duration of an event, but there's been no scientific proof to say they can't. So, yeah, look... Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm a big believer, Tassie. I'm sure you'll back me up on this when it comes to men and women's sports as far as getting paid and all the rest of it. No argument there that you get what you what you bring in, I suppose. So that's for me a non-argument.
Well, long as they're not like the swimmers and walking around with a penis, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Transgender and all that shit. If you're a woman, you're a woman. If you're a man, you're a man. Yeah. Don't be a man going to a woman's sport like the fucking swimmer. That's walking around with a fucking 10-foot, a fucking big schlong.
Well, that's a whole different argument. But Pete, yeah, look, it's an interesting one. I hope we never get to that point where we've got to face a man identifying as a woman wanting to fight another woman. I'm not putting into this argument here. It's more so, should it be 10 threes or 12 threes or 3-minute rounds? Because if you ask a lot of the girl boxers out there or female boxers, they want to fight 3-minute rounds. So why shouldn't they be allowed to?
They should. There shouldn't be a limit on that. I've got no issues with. I mean, look, it's like football now. I mean, the AFL now, they're going to be in a big dilemma in the next 5 years with, funding that COVID thing with 2 years without crowds and stuff. And the next TV rights is going to tell where it's going to be. And the new Tasmanian team's coming in, so you'll be wrapped Tassie. But you can't go into an AFL season with 19 teams. They're going to need to pop a team in maybe in Sydney or wherever to make it a 20-team event. So what happens then? You can't play 40 games.
No.
So there's going to be changes. In every sport, there's changes. And the older you get, the less you want to change and the less things you want to change. But once they do change and you can see it, they're better, then you go, well, why wasn't it like that at the start? So if the females want to fight 3-minute rounds, let them fight 3-minute rounds. If they want to do it, do it. There's no medical evidence to say that it's dangerous for different between a female and a male. But in tennis, they only do 3 sets in Grand Slams. They don't do 5.
And the thing is, though, Pete, that in tennis, it's always bewildered me because why can't they play 5 sets? There's absolutely no reason why they can't play 5 sets. I understand in a sport like AFLW, on the other hand, you've got these massive big fields. People have said, like, to increase the scoring, they should bring the goalposts in a little bit and the boundaries a little bit. I'm actually all for that because at the end of the day, genetically, they can't kick as long as men can. So I'm all for that. But in this thing, it's women versus women.
Taylor Harris can. I've seen Taylor Harris kick 45-50.
Yeah, well, but she's probably one out of every, 3 or 4 in the whole league that could kick as long as a man can. But so I can agree with that. But in this instance here, look, the other thing in this instance here with the girls' title fight this weekend, why can't they fight, if they still want the 2-minute rounds, why not fight 12 2-minute rounds? Still fight the 12 rounds, but they're only 2 minutes. I don't understand.
I think that, especially with boxing now, we're different. We've all, had experience with boxing and grown up with it and all that. But the new people coming in, they want to shorten it. They want to start doing regional titles at 8 rounds and world titles at 10 rounds. I think that's going to end up being, because when we first came in, it was 15 rounds.
Yeah.
So, our grandfathers probably saw 20, 25 rounds, whatever. Now it's back to 12, and we're used to 12. Pretty soon it'll be 10 rounds and then 8 rounds because I think they're just trying to get less impact for less time rather than you're going to be harder for longer. Harder for longer could lead to injuries, especially fatigue, and I think that's what they're worrying about.
Yeah. I think I would like to see, even on the cards, this is probably another talking point, Tassie, that I would like to see with the cards, the main event, it's still at 12 rounds, by the way, Pete, so it's 12 threes or 10 threes if it's in whatever title fight, whatever it is. But scale down the undercard. I think sometimes we all want a quality undercard and we want evenly matched undercards, but I think sometimes when, especially from America, there's 3 12-round fights and an 8-rounder and a 10-rounder. It's just a bit too much. And I think, if anything, if they want to keep our attention span, make it all about the main event, have really good matchups on the undercard, but make them maybe 1-10, 1-8, 1-6 and a couple of 4s or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Sometimes they do go a bit long. I agree, 100%.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well,
100%.
Go, Pete.
I love it. I love it. I could watch them all night. I want to see those
me
kind
too.
of fights.
I'm talking about the fans. I'm talking about the general.
Eliminators. So there's eliminators and you see where they're going. For me, I don't care if the main event starts at 4 p.m. if we've been watching it from 10 a.m. Yeah. I could do that.
Yeah.
I love that, actually.
Yeah. Well, you're a hardcore fan, Pete. It's just interesting in this day and age where our attention spans aren't as much as it used to be, that they might look at the end of the day. We'll see what happens. Last talking point, guys. What is it then? Now, Pete, this is going to get you fired up. I've got no doubt. And it's just a simple question, and you're probably the best one to actually explain the way it works here. Now, let me explain first. You can see the title there, How Can We Take Sanctioning Bodies Seriously? Now, my argument here, or more of a query, Pete, and I'll go straight to you with it, is the rankings of all the sanctioning bodies. Now, I understand that it's not the same as it used to be, where fighters fight fighters and they progress up, and all the sanctioning bodies look at them and go, well, we'll rank you number 1 and we'll rank you number 3 and whatever. The question I've got is, at the moment, I'm going to point out a few things for you, and then you can explain the way it works for everyone out there. At heavyweight at the moment, I've got a couple of examples. Joe Joyce, WBO number 1, WBC number 2, not ranked in the WBA or IBF top 15. Not in there, either one of them. I'll just go through a few different divisions here. Cruiserweight, Noel Giver, I think you pronounce it. WBC ranked number 1. Is not ranked in the top 15 of one other organisation. WBA, WBO, IBF, not in the top 15 of any of them, but he's ranked number 1 by the WBC. Light heavy, Callum Smith, same thing. Ranked WBC number 1, not ranked with anyone else, or he's not ranked at all by the IBF. One more. Super middleweight, David Benavides, WBC number 1, WBO number 2, not ranked in the top 15 of the WBA or IBF. And then just our guys, you've got Michael Zarafa, who's IBF ranked number 2 now, not ranked in the top 15 of the WBC and WBA. Tim Zhu, WBC number 3, WBO number 1, IBF number 3, which is great. Not ranked at all by the WBA. And then the last one, super lightweight, Liam Perot, ranked number 1 by the WBO, 3 by the IBF, and not ranked in the top 15 by the WBC or WBA. Just explain how it all works for our viewers.
Look, it's a bit like any type of organisations. They reward people that invest in them. So if you're with a WBA, let's just say, and you win a WBA Oriental, WBA Oceania title, and you front up and pay your sanction fees and you win a belt, you're kind of showing your alliance to the WBA, and then they see your name and they rate you accordingly because you're loyal to them. So they reward loyalty. Or WBC, any organisation, if you win the regionals and you go down that path, they're going to move you up where you'll get another fighter. Let's just say Lyndon Hosking, he only wants to fight for the WBO. All his fights are WBO Orientals. He will not go anywhere near any type of... So the WBO keep putting him up. And he keeps defending up against Thais and Indonesians. He gets Tassino and Rosa here. And straight after wins, he's doing Zoolander poses and he's going nuts. And the crowd are saying, when's he going to step up? The WBA love it because he's giving them money. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Lyndon's ranked number 1 in the world. The WBC, the WBA and the IBF are hating him. And everyone's going, well, why is he rated? Well, he's gone that route. He's gone that WBO route and he's invested money into it. And the promoter's going to say, guess what? I'm going to pay for Lyndon to fight for a world title as well, boys. So don't worry, we're going that way. But I'm only doing it in a funny way, viewers, so Lyndon knows and Tasios are only mucking around, but it gives you an indication that every organisation kind of rewards everyone, because a lot of the times no one fights anyone, Lyndon. You hardly ever see very well-rated fighters from different organisations crossing over and fighting each other, because they're with different promoters, different organisations. It just doesn't happen. It happens occasionally, but it doesn't happen. So, that's probably... tells you where it's at.
It was well explained, understand, but hence my title there. How can we take sanctioning bodies seriously when that's the way it works? I understand the way you've explained it there, and that's fine. How can we take, here's an example, sanctioning bodies seriously when you've got someone like Tim Zhu, and Tazzy, you can help answer this one, WBC 3, WBO 1, IBF 3. But the WBA doesn't have him anywhere in their ratings. How can you take ratings seriously when it's based on loyalty, not by what you've actually achieved in the ring?
100%, mate. Like, as like Peter said, you build a relationship with that sanctioning body. Might be more than one. You get a regional, you defend it, and you keep paying the sanctioning fees. That's all they care about, mate. So, yeah, it's not about, at least you go out and beat another fighter. It's just about playing the game, mate. You can build a guy up, and you cannot be ranked in one body, but you can be number 1 in one other body because you paid the sanction fees. And you might even not even be that good. A lot of guys get a shot and lose, and that's it.
Yeah. But Pete,
if you don't beat...
Sorry, mate. Yeah. But I was just going to say, again, it underlines what I'm saying. You've mentioned relationships. Pete, you've mentioned loyalty, and that's great. I understand that's what it's all about. It doesn't answer the question of how can we take sanctioning bodies seriously when a guy that's ranked number 1 across 3 different organisations will not be in the top 15 of another organisation because he hasn't got a relationship or he hasn't, hasn't been loyal to them, whatever. It goes against the grain of what these guys are supposed to do, is rank fighters on their accomplishments, not their relationship with the body.
Has Zhu beaten anyone in the top 15 with the WBA?
I'm not sure. I haven't got the rankings in front of me, but maybe not. I don't know.
He hasn't. So they can say he hasn't beaten any of our top guys.
No, and you hit it on the head. But again, it doesn't answer the question. How can we take, whether it be the WBO or WBA or whatever, seriously when there's this much, conjecture between all of them. What was the one I mentioned earlier? That Noel Gevor, WBC #1 in the world, is not ranked in the top 15 of the other three organisations. It just doesn't make sense. As I said, I understand you've explained it perfectly, relationships, loyalty and everything else. Hasn't explained that, you know, what it used to be is that a fighter would fight and the sanctioning bodies would look at him and judge him on his merits, not about what sanctioning fees he's paid or what promoter he's aligned with.
Who's Noel Gevor fought? Who's he fought? How many top 15? Noel Gevor, the guy you mentioned, the #1 guy. How many top 15 guys has he beaten across the four organisations?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't got it in front of me, but I'm just using as an example.
Probably hasn't beaten, not many.
But how's he ranked #1 by the WBC?
He wouldn't have been beaten many, I guarantee that.
But that again highlights what I'm saying. How can we take the WBC seriously when they're ranking a guy like him, who I've never even heard of, by the way, as #1 in the sanctioning body? And WBC is supposed to be the #1, arguably, the best one out there. But I just don't see, which is why I suppose, Tassie, everyone goes to the Ring magazine these days and says, there you go, there's our proper rankings. When it's all based on relationships,
100%.
loyalty to a body, it
100%.
just makes the whole thing, all four of them, by the way, Pete.
It comes down to money, mate. It's all about money.
Yeah, I suppose, you hit it on the head. Yep.
And look, they might have, the promoter might have a fighter that's not going to win a world title, could possibly fight for a world title, marginally, and do okay, but they know that promoter hasn't got the money and the resources to put on a world title, and the champion might be with Top Rank or it might be with Eddie Hearn. Then how hard would they be pushing to upset Eddie Hearn and Top Rank up against a guy that maybe should be fighting for a world title? He's not going to win it, but, you know, he'll never be able to have the resources to actually pay the sanction fees, because it's big money when you put on world titles. People don't realise the actual money in sanction fees you have to pay off the percentages off the fighter's purse as well.
Yeah, I think we understand the way it all is. You know, it's all about politics and manoeuvring and relationships and loyalty, as you guys have said. But at the end of the day, as much as we hang shit on our mates at the UFC, I love the model that it's one thing, and I know it'll never be that way in boxing, by the way, but, you know, they give the best fighters the best fights and the best money, and in a perfect world. But we're obviously
I think boxing in the last 2 years has been the best it's been for a very long time. Not only in Australia, but worldwide. I think we've been going great guns, and we've been getting a lot of good matchups and a lot of healthy matchups. Yeah. I think we're going great guns, to be honest.
Yeah, look, it has been good. Yeah, you're right. And that's even in the COVID situation we've had too. So they've all done a really good job of that. But it still doesn't explain that sanctioning body ratings is not judged on accomplishments. It's on relationships and loyalty and money and politics. And that's what I'm getting at. And I know, bang, I'll do the old camera KO and hit my head in the camera. It's never going to change, but we'll move on. All right, guys, we're all warmed up now.
I just want to give a gesture to all the sanctioning bodies. Like,
yeah, you got to play the game, you boys. I don't, so that's what I say to the sanctioning bodies. Thanks, Dazzy. Back me up there. So.
That was the manager of Andrew and Jason Maloney, guys, if you're watching with the WBC.
Hey, I'm not with them anymore, so don't judge the boys too harshly, all right? So, Peter, I reckon, I know you got to play straight bat there, so I won't make you comment too much on it. You explained it really well, by the way.
Peter's as controversial as an old teacup. There's no controversy in Peter whatsoever. He always
Joe Biden style, mate.
Right,
Joe Biden.
I know nothing. All right.
I blow up the boat.
All right, we're all fired up, boys, which means we're on to our last segment. It's everyone's favourite, is the world-famous boxing deep dive quiz. Tassie Brown versus Pistol Pete Maniatis. 7 in a row, but who's counting, Tassie? You've got the chocolates? No? Who's counting? Have we lost you there? We're all good?
No, mate, I'm just focused, mate. Let's go.
All right, you know the drill, boys. You know the drill. We'll get into it. Remember, if you get the question wrong, then the other one gets a free crack at it. There's no going back. And first in by my feed gets the first crack at the question. All right, here we go. 5 Aussie questions for starters. Number 1. Which Aussie Olympic medalist came from Lithgow, New South Wales? Peter.
Spike Sheeny.
What?
Certainly did. 1988.
I'll be checking that. I fucking said Tassie 3 hours ago.
You can check it as much as you want, mate. Peter got in first. Here we go. Number 2.
Will. I will be
Who
checking.
gave Justin Rousel his 2 career losses?
Tassie.
Tassie.
Lovemore Nadu and Ricky Hatton.
Certainly did. Nadu in 98, Ricky Hatton in 01. 1 all. How many unsuccessful attempts did Guy Waters have in world title fights?
Peter.
Tassie.
Yes, Peter.
1.
Incorrect. Tassie?
How many unsuccessful world title attempts?
Yep.
He had 2.
No, he actually had 3. He lost at Dennis Andrews in 91, Virgil Hill in 93, and Juan Carlos Gomez in 98. That was for the Cruiserweight world title. I think there was an IBO or WBF or something title in there some stage, wasn't there, Pete, that he fought for, but I didn't count that. 1 all. Number 4. What well-known Aussie promoter did Scott Brower fight twice for the Australian...
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie.
Paul Nazari.
He did, for the Australian lightweight title. Our good mate, Paul Nasari, who was a good boxer in his own right back in the day, mind you, was Paul.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good.
So 2-1. Number 5. In what round did Julian Holland stop...
Peter.
Yes, Peter.
Tassie.
7.
7 is correct. He stopped Shannon Taylor in the 7th round in a massive upset, that was. Not if you asked Julian, of course, because he was very confident of winning it. Pretty lucky to get out of the car park alive, from what I heard, Pete.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic.
So that's the Aussie questions down. It is 2 all. Number 6, the international questions now. What was the name of the trainer who had the mystery black bottle in Aaron Pryor's corner?
Tassie.
Yes, Tassie?
Tassie.
Yes? Tassie?
It was hang on, it was
3,
Boogaloo Watts. No.
2, no. Pete, you got a free crack at it? Had the mystery black bottle in Aaron Pryor's corner.
Davis.
No, it was Panama Lewis was his name.
Yeah.
Bit of a tricky one.
I knew it.
Number 7. Who was the first fighter to take Mike Tyson the distance?
Peter.
Tassie.
Peter.
James Quick Tillis.
Certainly was. James Quick Tillis. And I think Mitch Green was straight after that one, was the second one in successive fights. All right, 3-2, Tassie. Looking a bit shaky there, a bit glassy-eyed.
I'm not fucking shaky.
Number 8. Who were the final 3 opponents of Marvin Hagler?
Peter.
Tassie.
Yes, Peter.
John McGarvey.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
And
Three, 2, 1.
okay, I've got a mental blank.
You have free crack at it, Tassie?
Yeah, mate, it's a tough one, mate. The first 2, like Peter. Who
Final
was the one
3
before
opponents.
Mugabe? Yeah, it's a
3,
tough one, mate.
2, 1. Thomas Hearns.
Yeah.
He went Hearns, Mugabe, Leonard. Yep, for his final 3 fights.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Hearns would have fought him. Okay.
Yeah, I think 85 for Hearns, 86 for Mugabe, 87 for Leonard. All right,
okay.
What titles were on the line when Julio Cesar Chavez fought Meldrick Taylor?
Peter.
Tassie.
Peter.
WBC.
Yep.
WBA.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Tassie, what titles were on the line when Chavez fought Taylor?
Yeah, WBC and IBF.
Yeah, what division?
Waterweight.
Incorrect. Both of you were incorrect. It was WBC, IBF, junior welterweight titles.
That's right.
Okay.
So you both were almost right. Pete, I think you might have this one already. 4-2, I think it is. Or
Is it 3-2, isn't it?
3-2?
3-2.
Is that right, Pete? I think it is 3-2.
3-2. The last one he got was the
No,
James Taylor's
3-2.
one.
3-2.
No, it's 3-2.
All right, here
Yeah.
we go. Who
3-2,
am I?
yeah.
I was born on November 3rd, 1949. I started boxing at 19 years of age, and after a short amateur career, turned pro in 1973. After 27 straight wins, I won the world title in one of the great wars of my era, which included a memorable final round. I made 16 successful defences of the title, including 6 against past or future world champions, before relinquishing the belt due to a purse dispute for a mandatory defence. I was then crowned champion by another sanctioning body and proceeded to make 2 more defences. On the brink of... Yes, Pete?
Larry Holmes.
Correct, Larry Holmes. On the brink of equaling a long-standing record.
He's back. He's
lost
back.
his title.
He's back.
Do you know why I won this? Do you know why I won this, viewers? Tassie offered me a bribe to match the next show, and he's going to take a dive in the quizzes.
Is that
And I
right?
took that offensive. He did. Tassie. I do not take a dive, my friend. That was a low blow, but I will match the next couple of fights. But I thought that was a bit of a low point. I did think about it, though. And then the black person came and slapped me and said, you know.
Good to see you back, mate.
I hope you didn't take a dive, Tassie. I hope you didn't take a dive on purpose here.
All I'll say is, and
No,
the
No,
no.
Tassie was forcing. Linda will not accept that.
No.
Linda's even gone.
No.
You had to win tonight. You had to win tonight to save the show, mate. I mean, people are getting a bit boring. So look, you done well, mate.
No, he did well, and no, it was a couple of hard questions in there, and I know Tassie too well to know he would even contemplate ever taking a dive. So I think we can put that one off.
No, Tassie was cursing halfway through the questions. Tassie does not take a
I
dive.
don't think he got over the first question when he got rocked with the overhand right when he didn't get in first for the first question. He didn't recover after that one.
I still want that checked though, but yeah, that's okay.
Nah, that was
Tony
good,
Barber
guys.
from Saturday said she's going to be checking it, Tassie. Come on.
100%, mate. 100%.
Nah, keeps it interesting.
Well done, Pete.
Nah, it was a good one, guys. But that was a show, fellas. And geez, it's had an hour and 17. It's gone really quick, so that's how quick it can happen. But really appreciate you guys coming on again this week. We've got plenty happening next week with the classic fights and dream fights and everything else. And a little bit quieter week as far as the Aussie stuff goes, but I'm sure next week it'll heat back up and in the lead up to a few big events. So really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming on.
See you guys.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, fellas.
See you, boys.